Hey, what is up guys? This is Nishi from MST.TV here, back with another Market Watch episode. I hope that all of you guys had an amazing Christmas and that you got to spend some time with your families and friends and you had lots of good food, and hopefully you guys got some Yu-Gi-Oh cards and stuff at the same time. Hopefully you guys also have some time off before New Year's, before you have to go back to school and work and whatnot. But of course, when it comes to the Yu-Gi-Oh market, the market never takes any time off. Even over the holidays, we saw some interesting buyouts and price jumps all over the place. So welcome back everyone. I think we have one last market watch here before we are officially in 2023. Let's get started. Alright, so to start things off, we have Bystial Druid's Worm. So I don't think anyone is surprised to see that we're looking at Bystials here at all. We've basically been keeping an eye on Bystials ever since they were released. Now, despite Magnamut, Druid's Worm, and Serenir all being very meta-relevant cards that are seeing play in and against the best deck of a Tier 0 format, these Bystials were all printed as super rares in Darkwing Blast, which theoretically made them much more accessible to the player base. However, I think it's the first time in quite a while that we've seen the supers from a core set get so expensive right on the set's release. The only real comparable I can think of is something like Twin Twisters. However, with tier limits surviving the most recent ban list and probably sticking around for another format or two, and with the new Bystial card coming in Photon Hypernova that will synergize well with the rest of the cards, everyone's eyes are on the Bystials because of how strong they are. Druid's Worm has always been seen as kind of being like the second best one, since it's usually the one that you will search off of Magnamut, but Druid's Worm is really good in and of itself, being able to get rid of an opponent's special summon monster. It also has really good synergy with Baldrake, the new one coming out in Photon Hypernova, since Druid's Worm's effect will proc when tributed by the Baldrake. As a result, Druid's Worm is now just as expensive as Magnamut, having caught up to it and matching it at the $18 price point. It's crazy enough to have one super rare from a core set be this expensive, but to have two of them in the same set from the same archetype is just kind of crazy to me. As a new card, the Bystials probably won't be reprinted until the 2023 Megatins, and either way, you'll want to play with the Bystials while tier limits are the best deck of the format. So if you want to play competitive Yu-Gi-Oh right now and you don't already own the Bystials, you're probably going to have to pay up for them. The next card we're going to take a look at here is Light Force Sword, which is looking like it's going to be a really interesting tech next format. You can use this card to get rid of an Exodia piece from your opponent's hand in order to stop them from winning the duel. Of course, if you aren't Yugi and you aren't dueling against a rare hunter, you might be looking at using Light Force Sword in the Kashtira deck as a tech card that can really frustrate your opponent. Light Force Sword lets you banish a random card from your opponent's hand face down for 4 turns, which in the context of today's game may as well be the entire duel. The theory here is that, like with a pointer of the Red Lotus, getting rid of an opponent's card from their hand is really frustrating since you're now playing with fewer resources. Obviously, the difference here is that you don't get to see the card or the other things in your opponent's hand, which would have been kind of broken. The other cool thing though is that this also procs the effect of Kashtira Shangri-Ira, allowing you to lock down an additional one of your opponent's zones. Kashtira can already lock down several zones using Diablosis, but this will definitely just make the game even more frustrating for your opponent. I don't know if this is necessarily going to be a meta strategy, but I could definitely see this card being really annoying if you're playing Kashtira going first. The downside though is that this card is obviously a horrible top deck, and it isn't exactly a combo piece, so it doesn't get you very far on its own. As an older card, Light Force Sword has quite a few low rarity printings, but its only holo printing is as a super rare from Legendary Collection Yugi's World, a reprint set that came out quite a few years ago, and those are going to cost you about $10 each at the moment. If you do happen to have one of these randomly lying around, I'd definitely consider offloading them while there is some early hype surrounding the card before Kashtira officially gets support in Photon Hypernova in early 2023. Next up is a bit of a smaller one. It is Constellar Sheraton. Now this is a level 3 Constellar monster where on normal summon you search for a Constellar monster from your deck. However, I don't think that this is a card that the deck really wants to see all that often. Rather, it's something that you want to banish with the effect of Tellarknight Constellar Caduceus, which banishes a Constellar or Tellarknight monster from your deck and then copies the effect of the banished monster when that monster would be normal summoned. So basically having a copy of Sheraton in the deck as a brick to banish turns Caduceus into a searcher, which isn't too bad at all. Now, I haven't spent as much time as Tombox looking into the Tellarknight / Constellar stuff since I was never really a big fan of the archetype back in the day, but I know a lot of players really do like the deck and will want to play it. However, I don't think that even with all of the new stuff, the deck is going to be that good. I think it's kind of going to fall off and it's just going to be another rogue deck that got legacy support. For now though, Sheraton has gone up quite a bit in terms of price. The card has the DT printing, which is around $10 now, and then it also has a super rare version from Hidden Arsenal 7. Those used to be like a quarter, those are now a couple of dollars a piece. Nothing too crazy to see here, but if you do have some old DT stuff lying around, Sheraton is a one of that is probably worth digging up and offloading, since the card likely won't be seeing too much competitive play, even when the support officially drops here in the TCG. Alright, so here we're looking at a card that has actually really been steadily rising for the last month or so. It's Lady Labyrinth of the Silver Castle. So this is actually one of the best cards for the entire Labyrinth strategy. I think that it coming out in Darkwing Blast is what really put the deck on everyone's radar. It has quite a few useful effects, including protecting itself while you control a set card, special summoning itself for free if a Labyrinth or normal trap card was activated this turn, and then also setting a normal trap with a different name from your deck directly to your side of the field if a normal trap is activated. Now you can use this card as part of a 2-card combo to allow you to search for and activate any trap card on your opponent's first turn if you're going first, including things like Eradicator Epidemic Virus, Deck Devastation Virus, or Dimensional Barrier, so this card is absolutely essential to allowing the strategy to function. Now over in the OCG, Labyrinth has emerged as a top tier deck after the hits on the most recent ban list to Tearlaments and Kashtira. I think it's definitely the strongest trap deck in the game right now. I remember when people were basically laughing at me for saying that the deck is stronger than Eldritch, but I think that Labyrinth is the better trap deck by quite a wide margin. Anyways, Lady Labyrinth just recently came out in Darkwing Blast, and I think that at the time people weren't really looking at Labyrinth at all, and this card was down as low as like $5 to $6. Now, however, with all of the attention that this card is getting in the OCG, and with people considering Labyrinth potentially being a top deck here in the TCG eventually, this card has basically doubled in price and it's now up to $13 on TCG Player. If you are looking at playing Labyrinth in the next format or so, you'll definitely need to pick up 3 copies of this card. However, with the difference in how the TCG and OCG operates, I wouldn't go out and invest in a ton of copies of this card. It's just something that you guys should be keeping an eye on if you are either interested in playing the deck or have a few extra copies of this card lying around in a binder. Okay, so speaking of Labyrinth, the next card here is DDD Divisor King Deuce Machinex. This is a rank 10 monster that is actually accessible for any deck that is able to summon 2 level 4 Fiend monsters, since you can go into Wave King Caesar and then slap this card on top of it for free. Divisor King has an effect that isn't once per turn, it is once per chain. It allows you to detach 2 materials from this card when your opponent's monster activates an effect. It doesn't negate the effect, but it attaches that monster to this card as an Xyz material, which is kind of cool because it can steal an opponent's material from the field or graveyard and cause them to lose the body. This can be really difficult for your opponent to play around, and it can be effective against something like Tearlaments, where you attach your opponent's tier monster to this card as a material, and then they aren't able to conduct a fusion summon since the material is no longer in the graveyard. Now, oddly enough, this card is seeing a small amount of play in the Labyrinth extra deck, since this is a Fiend and you can still go into it even after you've resolved Welcome Labyrinth, the on-theme trap card that locks you into Fiend type monsters. Unfortunately, this card has only 1 printing as an ultra rare from back in Battle of Chaos. We should be expecting this card to be reprinted in the 2023 Megatins, but even assuming that the product comes out, that's another 8 months or so away, so not anytime soon. For now, the card has gone up a few dollars from the $2 to $3 it was before to now being a $5 to $6 card. Not a totally significant price jump, but definitely worth noting again because of the early hype that Labyrinth has gotten over in the OCG, and it's definitely something to pay attention to if you have a couple extra copies of this card lying around. Alright, on to the next card, we have Scareclaw Reichhart. Reichhart is a pretty interesting level 4 monster that is obviously a part of the Scareclaw deck. You can special summon it for free next to a Scareclaw monster. Now on summon, you search for a Scareclaw spell or trap card from your deck, and then if there are 3 or more defense mode monsters on the field, you also get to draw a card. So I think that the idea with Scare Claws is that you're going into Tryhard and forcing monsters into defense mode so that you're able to get the full benefit of Rykart. Now, I'm not too great with the theme. I don't really care for them all that much right now, but apparently over in the OCG, Scare Claws are actually doing reasonably well. Tri-Brigade makes up a significant portion of the meta over there, and while most of the Tri-Brigade variants play Sprite, a few of them have found success with a Scareclaw package instead. This bit of early hype over in the OCG has led people to looking at these Scareclaw cards as a potential investment, as the cards could see an increase in play here once tier limits eventually get hit on the ban list in the same way that they did in the OCG. However, this is all obviously very early speculation, as we have no idea of knowing how exactly the game will look when the list eventually drops. This card used to be a pretty cheap one, down at $3 or so, but in the last few weeks has shot up to the $8 mark. Again, nothing too crazy since no one knows exactly how the game is going to evolve, but it's another key card from a theme that has the potential to see significant movement in a few months after the next ban list. And finally, the last card we're going to take a look at here is Mysterion the Dragon Crown. So I'm not going to lie, I'm not sure exactly why it is that this card has gotten so expensive, but I really haven't found anyone else that knows why either. Now, just from looking at it, I think it might be an interesting super poly target since you can make this card with one spellcaster and one dragon. I'm not too sure exactly what board it is that you're trying to break through with this card though, maybe like a pendulum board or something. It has an interesting effect where if a monster uses its effect to special summon itself or another monster with the same original type, then you can banish one of those special summon monsters, and then all monsters on the field with the same type also get banished. So the only thing that comes to mind here is Sprite Elf or Gigantic Sprite, where you could get rid of multiple problem monsters. I think you can't even use this card against tier limit since you can't confirm that the original type of the monster you summon matches the original type of the monster that got shuffled into the deck. Of course, I might be reading this totally wrong, especially since I don't even know exactly like where you'd be making this card. I do remember seeing something about like the new Blazing Cartesia card in some of the tier limit builds. Maybe that's what's going on. Anyways, this card saw a pretty big buyout within the last few days. This used to be only $1 or so. It has actually peaked at around 10 to 12 as of a couple days ago, but has quickly come back down in price as people have listed their copies back onto the market, and it's now sitting at around $6 to $7 each. Personally, I'm not really sold on the card. If it was very clearly good in something and I saw some results with the card, then maybe I could justify buying it, right? But as of now, where everyone's just buying it but it doesn't seem to be used anywhere, I'm kind of staying away from it. This is definitely the type of buyout that I would recommend you guys stay away from as well. And if you happen to have any, just sell off the card into the hype. And if you really want it, wait for the card's price to fall back down before you buy back in. Alright everyone, that is it for today's episode. Again, I hope that all of you had an awesome Christmas, and I hope that you guys have a great and safe New Year's this upcoming weekend as well. Anyways guys, if you did enjoy today's Market Watch episode, please make sure that you let me know by slamming that thumbs up button for me. Also, make sure you leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you guys think about the cards that we talked about today, and what other cards are trending on the market so that I can cover them in future episodes. Also, if you haven't already, do make sure that you guys hit that subscribe button to get all of the latest and greatest content from both Tombox and myself. And until next time, guys, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV.